first time I realized something was wrong, it was over a cheap plastic comb from the dollar store. I was standing in our bathroom, staring at my own hair in the mirror, watching a clump of it collect between the teeth of the comb like it belonged to somebody else. My mom walked behind me, glanced at my reflection and said, so casually it felt like a knife, "Stop doing that. You're going to make yourself look even more like him." I didn't ask who him was. I didn't even breathe right. I just went silent, and something inside me cracked in a way I didn't understand yet. My name is Morgan. I'm 19 years old, and I work evenings at a neighborhood coffee shop while I take online classes. I live a long drive away from the town I grew up in, with my wife in a little apartment that smells like vanilla candles and laundry detergent. It's the first place that has ever felt like mine. And still, even with the distance, my mother's voice can reach across states and grab me by the throat. My mom's name is Greer. She's the kind of woman who can smile while she's controlling you. People love her. She's the one who brings casserole to funerals and organizes birthday parties and remembers everyone's allergies. In public, she looks like warmth. In private, she was rules. I learned the sound of her footsteps the way some kids learn lullabies. I learned what her silence meant. I learned how to swallow words before they became problems. My brother Knox is a year younger than me. If you put a photo of him next to my mom, it looks like somebody copy and pasted her face onto a boy. Same dark eyes, same little freckle near the cheekbone, same smile that makes strangers relax. She adored him with her whole body. She hugged him like he was her proof that she did something right. Me? I was the kid she corrected. I was the kid she watched. I was the kid she punished for things I didn't even know were wrong until she decided they were. If Knox forgot to take out the trash, she sighed and did it herself. If I forgot, she stared at me like she was seeing a stranger in her kitchen, and then she found a way to make it hurt. Her hand, a hairbrush, the edge of a flip-flop, sometimes just words that stayed in my skin longer than bruises. I spent my childhood trying to earn a version of her love that wasn't conditional, and I spent my teenage years wondering why it felt like I didn't belong in my own house. It wasn't just the way she treated us differently. It was everything that didn't line up, like my last name. Greer's last name was Hartley before she married my dad. My dad's last name is Wilder. Knox has Wilder. Everyone on both sides has Hartley or Wilder or some variation that makes sense, like branches of the same tree. My last name, before I changed it when I got married, was Rhodes. Not one aunt, not one cousin, not one grandparent, nobody, just me. When I asked as a kid, my mom would tilt her head like I'd asked her why the sky was blue. I liked it, she'd say. When I asked again as a teenager, she got defensive. Why are you so obsessed with it? You always have to make things weird. When I asked my dad Grant, he did what he always did. He blinked slowly and shrugged like life was happening to him instead of around him. I don't know. Ask your mom. That was his favorite answer. Grant wasn't cruel. He just wasn't present. He worked long hours, came home tired, and moved through the house like a guest. My mom made the rules. My mom set the temperature. My mom decided what was normal. And from the time I was little, she decided one specific thing with a hard edge I never forgot. Do not ever do one of those DNA tests. She didn't say it once. She said it like a warning, like a threat, like a prayer she needed to keep saying so the universe wouldn't hear the opposite. Whenever DNA tests came up in commercials or in school projects or in some random conversation about family traits, Greer would stiffen. Her smile would drop out of her face like it had weight. She'd look at me, not at Knox, and her voice would go low. I mean it, Morgan. You will not do that, ever. I used to promise, because I was a kid, and I still thought promises could buy safety. I still thought obedience could earn love, but as I got older, my curiosity grew teeth. Knox got away with everything. I didn't. Knox dated in high school. My mom laughed when he told her he had a girlfriend. She teased him at dinner like it was cute. When a boy texted me in sophomore year, my mom went through my phone while I was sleeping. I woke up to the glare of my screen in her hand and the light on her face, and then the sting of her words. You want to act grown? Then you can deal with grown consequences. She grounded me for weeks, not for sneaking out, not for lying, for having a normal conversation with a normal kid. That pattern didn't stop. It just evolved. By the time I was 18, I'd learned to hide everything that mattered to me. My feelings, my plans, my questions. Especially my questions, because questions made her angry. Like the time I asked for my birth certificate. It was for school forms. Something boring. Something everyone needs. I remember standing in the kitchen while she opened the mail with a butter knife, and I said, "Can I have my birth certificate? I need it for enrollment." Greer didn't even look up. "No, you'll lose it." "I won't," I said. "I'm not a kid." She finally looked at me then. Her eyes were calm. Her mouth was not. "You are irresponsible, Morgan. I'm keeping it safe." "Where is it?" "In a place you don't need to know." That was the moment I realized I had never actually seen it. Not once. Not even as a little kid when parents show you baby photos and laugh about the day you were born. Greer told stories, but they never stayed the same. Sometimes she said nobody was in the delivery room with her. She said she did it alone because she was strong. Other times, she said her mom and her sisters were there, holding her hand, crying, praying. Sometimes she said Grant was asleep at home because he was exhausted. Other times, she said she and Grant were not even together when she was pregnant with me. Like it was a sad chapter she didn't want to open. But Knox's birth story, that one was solid. That one had details that never changed. Grant's hand squeezing hers, the nurse making jokes, the exact moment Knox cried. When I asked about boyfriends before Grant, Greer's voice always got sharp. "Why do you need to know that?" Once, after I pushed too hard, she admitted she had an older boyfriend when she was young. She called him a mistake. She said she got pregnant and lost it. I was maybe 10, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, half listening, half chewing on the cap of a marker. And I said something dumb because I was a kid, because I didn't understand the way her secrets had wires. Imagine if he was my dad, I joked. Greer's face changed so fast it scared me. She snapped my name like she was pulling me back from a cliff. "Don't say stupid things." Her reaction landed in my chest and stayed there, heavy and quiet. I moved out not long after I graduated. I didn't make a scene. I didn't write a dramatic goodbye letter. I just left, like someone slipping out of a burning building, without waking the people who started the fire. My wife helped me pack. She didn't ask me to justify it. She just kept moving with me, steady and gentle, and for the first time I understood what safety felt like. And in that safety, my curiosity got louder. Late at night after my shift, I'd sit on the couch with my laptop and watch videos of people opening DNA results. I watched their faces change. Some of them cried. Some of them laughed. Some of them went pale and stared at the screen like it was speaking, a language they weren't ready to learn. I told myself I was just interested in ancestry, in heritage, in the fun parts, but the truth was uglier. I wanted proof. I wanted to know why my mom flinched when she looked at me sometimes, like I reminded her of something she hated. I wanted to know why I had green flecks in my eyes when everyone in my family had brown, so dark it looked almost black. I wanted to know why why Knox got therapy paid for like his pain mattered, while mine was treated like attitude. I wanted to know why my last name felt like a tag on a suitcase that belonged to somebody else. So one night, after a long shift where a customer yelled at me for making their drink wrong even though I made it exactly the way they ordered it, I came home shaking with that familiar helpless anger. My wife handed me a cup of water. She touched my shoulder and said, "You don't deserve to be treated like you're always wrong." I stared at the water and I felt something open in me. I opened my laptop and ordered the DNA kit. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell my dad. I didn't even tell Knox. I just did it quietly, like I was finally learning how to keep myself safe. The kit arrived in a plain box. I held it in my hands and felt guilty, like guilt was automatic whenever I chose myself. I did the swab, sealed it, and stared at the return label for a long time before dropping it in the mail. And then I waited. During the holidays, my wife and I flew back to visit. I told myself I could handle it. I told myself I was grown now, that I could be in that house and not fold into the child version of me. The first night, we played cards at the dining table, the same table where my mom used to inspect my homework and find reasons to sigh. My aunt laughed too loudly. My dad sipped his drink and stayed quiet. Knox leaned back in his chair like he belonged everywhere. A card went around the table. It said something about drinking if you had ever done a DNA test. My heart thumped once, hard. I lifted my cup slowly, just to see, just to test the air. My mom's eyes locked onto mine. Her smile vanished. The whole room felt like it froze, like the house itself was holding its breath. "You're joking," she said low and tight. I didn't answer fast enough. Her voice got sharper. "You are not that stupid. You didn't do that." My wife's hand found my knee under the table. I could feel her fingers tense. I forced a laugh that sounded wrong. "I'm kidding. It was a joke." Greer kept staring at me like she was trying to see through my skin. Then she looked away too quickly and started talking about something else too loudly, like she needed to cover the moment before it became real. I didn't sleep well that night. I told myself she didn't know. I told myself she couldn't possibly know. But the next morning, when I went to grab a sweater from the guest room closet, I found the door to my suitcase slightly open. Even though I knew I'd zipped it, nothing was missing. But the message was there, quiet and clear. She was still looking. When I flew back home, I made a second move, quieter than the first. I texted my mom and asked for my birth certificate. I didn't mention the DNA test. I didn't accuse her of anything. I said I needed it for updated documents, for travel. For grown-up life stuff she could pretend was normal. There was a pause before she replied, longer than usual. Then she said, "Why?" Not "Why do you need it?" Not "Sure, honey." Not "I'll send it." Just one word. "Why?" I explained. Calm, polite, like I was talking to someone who didn't used to hit me for having a tone. She responded with, "I'll send it." She didn't. Days passed. And more days. Greer used to send me videos all day. Random clips, jokes, recipes, church stuff, things to keep a thread tied around my ankle. Suddenly nothing. No reels, no texts, no calls. It was like I'd stepped on a landmine, and she decided the punishment was silence. My stomach twisted with that old instinct to fix it, to apologize for having needs. But I didn't. I ordered my own copy of my birth certificate instead. I filled out the forms. I paid the fee. I screenshotted the confirmation. I saved every email. I started collecting proof like I was building a case, not a fight. Because I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to know. Quick real life pause. When I'm editing these late at night, I get tired. And your comments are what keep me going. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country. Alright, back to the story. A week later, I got a message from my dad's mother. My grandma asking if everything was okay. Her text was gentle, but there was something underneath it, like she knew there was smoke and she was trying to find the fire. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering, because the truth was, I didn't know who to trust yet. All I knew was this. My mother had told me my whole life not to do one simple thing, and the moment I moved toward it, she vanished like she was trying to outrun the truth. Then early one morning, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while I was pouring coffee. The sound was small, ordinary, but my whole body snapped tight. A notification from the DNA company. "Your results are ready." My hand hovered over the screen like it weighed 1,000 pounds. For a second, I considered setting the phone face down and walking away. Not forever. Just long enough to pretend my life was still the same. My wife stepped into the kitchen in her socks, hair messy, eyes still half asleep. She saw my face and instantly woke up. "They came in," she said. I nodded once. My throat felt tight, like every breath had to squeeze past something sharp. She didn't rush me. She came closer, stood beside me, and placed her palm flat on the counter, anchoring both of us in the room. I loved her for that. She never pulled. She never pushed. She just stayed. I opened the app. The screen loaded bright and clean like it had no idea it was holding a grenade. I saw my own name at the top, and underneath it, a cheerful banner that looked almost insulting. Then the word that made my stomach drop. Matches. I tapped it. Names filled the screen. Some were strangers. Some were distant. Tiny percentages of shared DNA. It felt like looking at a crowded party through a window, trying to find one face I recognized. I found them fast. My mom's side. A cousin I remembered from childhood cookouts. A second cousin with the same laugh as my aunt. A woman whose profile picture was unmistakably my mom's sister. My aunt, the one who used to pinch my cheeks and say I was too serious for a little girl. My chest loosened for half a second. A small, foolish part of me wanted to use that as proof that I was overthinking everything, that I was dramatic, that I was the rebel kid my mother always said I was. Then I scrolled, and I saw a match with a name I did not recognize. The percentage of shared DNA was higher than my match with my aunt. I blinked hard like my eyes were glitching. My wife leaned closer. "What does that mean?" I clicked the profile. The woman had a last name I had never heard in my life. Her location was a state my parents used to mention only when they talked about vacations. Her profile photo was a smiling older woman in a sunlit backyard holding a toddler. I stared at her face and something cold moved through me. Not recognition, not familiarity, something worse. A sense that I had opened a door I would not be able to close. I clicked on shared matches. More names, more unfamiliar last names. A cluster of people that were clearly connected to each other. A family web I had never been allowed to see. My mouth went dry. "This is not my mom's family." My wife's voice was soft. "Could it be your dad's side?" My dad's side was always distant. He had relatives technically, but they were like characters in a story that only mattered when my mom wanted to complain about them. I'd been to maybe 2 gatherings in my entire life. I barely knew names. I barely knew faces. But still, the idea of my dad's side was something. It fit inside the world I understood. I did the thing my mother had trained me not to do. I reached out to my dad's family. Not to my dad first. I couldn't. The image of him shrugging and saying, "Ask your mom," made my stomach turn. I wanted a straight answer from someone who might actually tell the truth without permission. I texted my grandma on my dad's side. "Hi, random question. Have you or anyone in the family ever done one of those DNA tests?" I stared at the message after I sent it, waiting for panic to hit me. It did, slow and heavy. I paced the living room. I took a sip of coffee that tasted like nothing. My wife sat on the couch and watched me like she was memorizing my movements, ready to catch me if I fell. A minute later, my grandma replied, "Yes, several of us have." Why? My heart thudded hard. Several of us. So these unknown names could be my dad's relatives. They could, but then why did none of them look familiar? Why did I recognize nobody? Why did my highest match not carry my dad's last name at all? I felt my brain trying to grab onto explanations like lifeboats. Maybe my dad had a secret sibling. Maybe my grandma had a child she never talked about. Maybe the family had a whole side branch that got cut off. A twist inside a twist, that could happen, but my body knew the truth before my mind could say it out loud. My wife looked at me and whispered, "Do you want to call your dad?" I shook my head. Not yet, because I already knew the call would become my mom. Somehow, always, it became my mom. So instead, I messaged my dad's sister, my aunt, the one who posted photos of family dinners I never got invited to. "Hey, sorry to bother you. Have you ever done a DNA test like the ancestry ones?" Her reply came fast. "Yeah, a bunch of us did. Everything okay?" "Everything okay." I laughed once, but it came out like a breath that hurt. "No," I typed. "Not really. I got my results and I have matches I do not recognize." My aunt called me immediately. I stared at the incoming call like it was a courtroom summons. My wife nodded at me, encouraging but cautious. I answered, "Morgan?" My aunt's voice sounded gentle but tense. "Are you home?" "Yes." "Is your wife with you?" "Yes," I said again, and my voice cracked a little. I hated that. I hated how quickly I turned into a kid when adults asked questions like that. "Okay," she said. "Tell me what you're seeing." I told her carefully. The matches I recognized, the match I did not, the percentage, the cluster of names, the state listed on the profile. There was a pause on the line, a long one. My aunt exhaled. "Honey," she said quietly, "I do not know those names." My mouth went numb. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," she said. "I know our people, I know our last names, I know our cousins." That does not ring a bell. My wife's hand closed around mine. My aunt's voice shifted. "Did you talk to your parents?" "No," I whispered. "My mom has not spoken to me in weeks. She ghosted me after I asked for my birth certificate." Another pause, then softer. "Your mom did what?" I swallowed. "She said she would send it. She didn't. Then she stopped texting. She stopped sending videos. Nothing." My aunt said my mom's name like it was a problem she did not want to touch. "Okay, listen to me. I'm not going to stir things up, but I'm also not going to leave you alone with this. I'm going to call your dad. I'm going to call your mom. And I'm going to tell them they need to talk to you." The air left my lungs. "No, please don't." My aunt didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She simply said, "Sweetheart, they should have talked to you a long time ago." That sentence hit me harder than I expected, because it wasn't just about the DNA test. It was about my whole life. All the moments I felt out of place. All the punishments that never matched the crime. All the secrets in my mother's eyes. All the times she acted like my questions were betrayal. I had been living inside a lie that everybody else understood without telling me. My aunt continued, "You stay with your wife today, okay? Let her be with you. And no matter what they say, you remember this. You did nothing wrong by wanting the truth." I didn't answer. I couldn't. I sat down on the floor with my back against the couch, phone still pressed to my ear, and stared at the wall like it might start talking. After we hung up, my wife crouched beside me. "Breathe," she said. "Just breathe." I tried. My phone buzzed again. A notification. A message request from the unfamiliar match. The woman with the backyard photo. I stared at her name on the screen. My hands went cold. I opened it. "Hi, I think we might be related. I saw you in my matches and I have been trying to figure out how. Do you have any family in the state listed on my profile?" My chest tightened so hard it felt like I was drowning on dry land. My wife's voice was steady. "You do not have to answer right now." But I couldn't look away, because that message was real. It wasn't a theory anymore. It wasn't suspicion. It wasn't childhood paranoia or teenage rebellion. It was a person, alive, on the other side of the screen, reaching toward me like I was a missing piece. I didn't reply, not yet. Instead, I did something my mother would hate even more. I took screenshots. Every match, every percentage, every name, every message. I saved everything in a folder and emailed it to myself, because I have learned that truth disappears when the wrong person controls the documents. Then I waited. Hours passed. I tried to do normal things. I washed dishes. I folded laundry. I pretended my hands were not shaking. My wife kept checking on me, making sure I ate something, making sure I drank water. Around late afternoon, my phone rang. It was my dad. I stared at his name until the screen dimmed. My heart hammered. My stomach twisted. My wife whispered, "You can do this." I answered, "Hey," my dad said, and his voice sounded wrong. It sounded like it was carrying weight it wasn't used to carrying. "Hi," I said, and my voice came out small. There was a sound in the background, a muffled sob. My breath caught. And then my mom's voice, quiet but close, like she was standing right beside him. "She knows," my mom said. I went completely still. My dad's voice broke. "Morgan," he whispered, "please don't hang up." My dad sounded like he had been crying for hours. The kind of crying that leaves your voice raw. In the background, my mom's breathing came in sharp little bursts, like she was trying not to fall apart and failing anyway. I pressed my free hand to my chest. My heart was slamming so hard it made me dizzy. My wife sat beside me on the couch, her shoulder pressed into mine, warm and steady, like an anchor. "I'm here," I said, because I needed them to hear my voice. I needed to hear it too. "I'm listening." My dad swallowed, and I heard the wet sound of it through the phone. "Your aunt called," he said. "She told us you got results." Silence. My mom didn't speak. I stared at the wall across from me, at the tiny crack above the baseboard. We always said we would fix and never did. My brain tried to focus on that crack like it could keep me from splitting open. My dad said my name again, softer. "I need you to know something before she talks, okay?" I almost laughed, because my whole life she was the one who talked, and he was the one who disappeared behind her words. "Okay," I whispered. My mom's voice came through then, small, tight, nothing like the voice she used when she was punishing me. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said. I closed my eyes and felt the heat behind them, the burn of tears that refused to fall because my body was too busy protecting itself. "Like what?" I asked. My voice was calm, and I hated myself for how practiced that calm sounded. "By me doing something you told me not to do?" My mom made a sound that could have been a sob or a laugh. "Morgan, just my name?" Like that was supposed to pull me back into place. My wife squeezed my hand, not to stop me, just to remind me I wasn't alone. "I matched with people I have never heard of," I said. "People in another state, and you stopped speaking to me the second I asked for my birth certificate, so tell me." Another breath, sharp. Then my mom said, "Grant is your dad." Hearing my father's first name in her mouth jolted me. She only used it when she wanted to sound serious, like she was reading from a script. "He raised you," she rushed on. "He loves you. He has always loved you." My dad made a broken sound, like he was trying to agree but couldn't find the air. I stared at my hands. they were shaking. And my biological father, I said slowly, tasting the words like poison. Who is he? My mom didn't answer immediately. I could hear her crying now. Real crying. Not angry crying. Not performative. It sounded like fear. I was young, she said finally. I was 19. The number hit me in a strange way, because 19 is not some distant abstract thing. 19 is me. 19 is this age where everyone expects you to be an adult while you still feel like a kid who is improvising. My mom continued. I went on a trip with my cousin. We met people. There was a man. He was older. How much older? I asked, and my voice went cold. My mom's breath hitched. 10 years older. My wife's hand tightened around mine. I felt the rage rise, hot and fast, not at the man yet, but at the story, at the secrecy, at the way my mother's choices had shaped my entire childhood and then blamed me for the shape. I got pregnant, my mom said. When I came home, I found out. I told him. Over the phone, my dad's breathing turned louder, like he was trying not to sob again. My mom kept talking, faster now, like if she said it quickly enough, it would hurt less. He didn't take me seriously. He thought I was a fling. He was not someone I wanted near my life. He wasn't safe for me. I didn't trust him. I didn't want him to have you. I opened my eyes and looked at my wife. She was watching my face like she was reading a storm pattern, ready for lightning. So you erased him, I said. My mom didn't deny it. She just cried harder. My dad's voice cracked. I chose to be there, he said. I chose you. I wanted you. I wanted to be your dad. And for a second, the anger stumbled because I could hear it. The truth in that, the love, the desperation, but love does not erase damage. My mom said, we gave you a different last name because I did not want him to find you. My stomach dropped. That last name. It was his. Yes, she whispered. A memory flashed through my mind like a camera shutter. My mother's eyes narrowing when I joked about my dad not being my dad. Her furious reaction when I asked about DNA tests. Her refusal to hand me my birth certificate. It all lined up so cleanly it made me nauseous. You punished me, I said, and my voice came out flat because I looked like him. My mom inhaled sharply. No, I laughed once, bitter. You did. You did my whole life. My mom tried to speak, but my dad's voice cut in, shaky and pleading. Please, please don't think that. She was scared. We were both scared. We thought we were protecting you. Protecting me. I felt something harden inside my chest, something that had been soft for too long. You protected yourselves, I said. You protected a secret. You didn't protect me. Silence. Then my mom said, barely audible, I'm sorry. Those words should have meant something, but an apology without accountability is just a sound someone makes when they are afraid of consequences. Where is my birth certificate? I asked. My mom didn't answer. Where is it? I repeated, still calm. Quiet revenge does not come from screaming. Quiet revenge comes from making them answer, because I have asked for it my whole life, and you kept it like it belonged to you. My mom sniffed. I have it. Send it, I said. Now, not later. Not when you feel like it. Now. My mom hesitated. My wife leaned in and whispered, you already ordered a copy. Remember, you have proof either way. Right, I did. And that was the moment I understood what quiet power feels like. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's just preparation. I already ordered my own. I told my mom softly. So if you don't send it, I still get it. I just wanted to see if you would finally do one honest thing for me. That landed like a slap. I could hear the way her breath caught. My dad said, Morgan. I didn't respond. I let the silence work. Let them sit inside it. My mom's voice came out thin. What do you want? I stared at the kitchen doorway, at my wife's silhouette, at the life I built that my mother did not control. I want the truth, I said. And then I want space. My mom began to cry again, but this time it sounded different. It sounded like regret, and maybe it was, but regret doesn't rewrite history. I'll give you his name, my mom said. I'll give you what I know. My pulse jumped. Do it, she did. First name, last name, city, the state where my matches lived. And as she spoke, my brain filled in the blank spaces. The vacation, the older man, the reason I was the only Rhodes in a family of Hartleys and Wilders. After the call ended, I sat very still. My wife touched my cheek, wiping away a tear I didn't remember shedding. You're not crazy, she whispered. I let out a breath that sounded like a laugh and a sob at the same time. I spent my whole life thinking I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too rebellious. She shook her head. You were surviving. That night, I did not confront my mom again. I didn't send a long message. I didn't write a speech. I did the quiet thing. I searched the name, and I found him. A profile photo of a man smiling beside two kids at a beach. My stomach flipped when I saw his eyes, because they were my eyes. Not exactly. His were darker. But the shape, the intensity, the way the corners lifted like he was always thinking. It was like looking at a version of my face that had been living somewhere else. I didn't message him through the app. I didn't want the first contact to be a rushed notification. I wanted it to be deliberate. So I replied to the woman who matched with me instead. Hi, I think we are related too. I am still processing. Can you tell me how you are connected to the family in your state? Her response came quickly. She was his sister. My lungs stopped working for a second. She wrote that her brother had talked about a girl years ago. A baby, a story he never had proof for. She said he had wondered. She said he had tried to reach out to someone once and got blocked. My mother's face flashed in my mind. The time she casually mentioned an old boyfriend trying to contact her and how she blocked him without explaining why. I had asked questions and she snapped at me. It wasn't random. It was him. My hands shook as I typed back. I am the baby. When I sent it, my body went cold all over. Like I had stepped into a new reality and my skin was still adjusting. 2 days later, my birth certificate arrived in the mail. The paper felt heavier than paper should. I opened it at the kitchen table while my wife sat across from me, her fingers wrapped around a mug, her eyes steady. My mother's name was there. My birth date was there, but the father line. It wasn't my dad's name. My vision blurred. I blinked hard and the words sharpened. It was his. The man in the beach photo. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. I just stared at the ink like it had been waiting for me all these years. My wife reached across the table and held my hand. You have proof, she whispered. Proof. That word tasted like both freedom and grief. My dad called again that night. He sounded exhausted. I don't want to lose you, he said. I pressed my fingers into my forehead. I wanted to scream that he never really had me. Not fully, because my mother kept me behind glass. A thing to be managed. But I remembered his voice on the first call breaking. You didn't lose me, I said, but you're going to have to meet me where I am now. He inhaled shakily. Tell me how. And in that moment, I did something my younger self would never have believed I could do. I set boundaries without apologizing. I need time, I said. I need therapy. I need you to stop letting her speak for you. And I need you to understand that being my dad means you tell me the truth, even when it makes you uncomfortable. He whispered, okay, and I believed him. Not because he earned trust instantly, but because he finally sounded like he understood the cost. My mom texted a long apology. It was full of reasons. Fear, shame, protection, man, love, God, family. I read it once. Then I replied with one sentence. I am not punishing you. I am protecting myself. Then I muted her. That was the quiet revenge, not exposure, not humiliation, not a public spectacle, just removal of access. A week later, I video called my biological father. His voice shook when he said my name. He didn't call me his daughter right away. He didn't demand anything. He just looked at the screen like he was afraid the universe would take it back. I didn't think I would ever see you, he said. I kept my voice calm because I was terrified of how much I wanted to be wanted. I need to go slow, I told him. I have a dad. He raised me. He matters to me. He nodded immediately. I understand. I'm not here to replace anyone. I just want to know you. Even if it's small, that word felt safe. He introduced me to his kids, my siblings. His daughter smiled at me like she already knew me. His son asked if I liked the same music their dad liked. I laughed through tears. I didn't try to stop. After we hung up, I sat on the floor in my living room, my back against the couch, and I felt grief roll through me in waves. Grief for the childhood I didn't get. Grief for the mother I thought I had. Grief for the version of me that spent years trying to earn love from someone who was punishing a ghost. My wife sat with me silent, just breathing beside me. A month later, my dad flew out to see me alone. My mom wanted to come. He said no. I didn't even have to ask. That was the first time he chose me out loud. We sat at a small diner near my apartment. He kept wiping his eyes and trying to smile. I was afraid you'd hate me, he said. I don't hate you, I answered, but I'm not going to pretend anymore. He nodded, swallowing hard. You shouldn't. When he left, he hugged me like he was afraid I would disappear. And later that night, my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. She sent a photo of a man I had never seen before. Young, smiling, standing beside my mom on a beach. Underneath it, she wrote, I kept this hidden. I don't know why I never threw it away. I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I replied with the calmest truth I had ever spoken. You didn't throw it away because you were never throwing him away. You were throwing me away every time you looked at me and chose anger instead of love. I put the phone down. I turned toward my wife. I felt the apartment around me, the quiet, the safety, the life I built with my own hands. And for the first time, the secret was not sitting on my shoulders. It was sitting on hers. Now let me step out of the story for a second because I need to say this part in my own voice. When someone grows up as the scapegoat, you start believing you deserve it. You start building your personality around avoiding punishment. You call it being mature. You call it being independent. But really, it is a nervous system that never gets to rest. And when the truth finally comes out, it is not just relief. It is grief. It is anger. It is confusion. It is a strange kind of loneliness because you realize the version of you that survived back then did not get protected. What helped me was not forcing forgiveness. It was boundaries, quiet ones, real ones, the kind that do not need an announcement, the kind that just change access. I learned that love without honesty is just control with a nicer face. And I learned that I am allowed to want answers, even if it makes other people uncomfortable. I did not break my family by asking one question. I exposed the crack that was already there. And the day I stopped begging for the truth was the day I finally became impossible to manipulate.